So trust is an attitude that can help bring about a deep sense of peace and well-being in our lives. But it can also easily be misunderstood. So let's take the next few minutes just to explore this attitude in a bit more depth. So let's start with what trust is not, because it can easily be confused with some sense of naivety, of blindly believing in something without any evidence. You know, this notion of faith, which is a term that has lost its meaning to many of us, that we associate this with some type of religious way of being encouraged to believe in something because of tradition or because of some old scripture, that we're supposed to believe in something on blind faith. And if we don't, then we are considered to be sinners. And so I think it's helpful for us to reframe this notion of trust and of faith. And as pointed out by John Vervaeke, the original meaning of faith is perhaps more like something like being on course with the way that reality unfolds. So there's a felt sense of being attuned. Let's say you're navigating a boat, you know, you're working with the wind and with the currents in order to stay on course, to stay with reality as it unfolds. Or perhaps you're in a relationship and you have the sense that it's developing in the direction you want it to, that you're both growing and developing in the relationship. You're developing a deeper connection, and so you have a sense that the relationship is on course, and you have faith in that relationship. And that the reason that we don't want to sin is not that we're afraid of some punishment from the gods, but it's more this notion of missing the mark, missing the target. That's the original meaning of the word sin. That we don't want to deviate from the course, we don't want to get lost. That's perhaps a sidetrack, but I think it's important for us to see this attitude of trust in a new frame, in a new light. So trust is not about blindly believing in something, and is not about naively just trusting in, let's say, another person that may not be trustworthy. You know, it goes much deeper than that. As we start seeing with these attitudes, it's really about coming back to ourselves, this deep sense of attunement with our body, mind, and spirit. And it's about skillfully discerning between the things that we can control, the things we can't control, things we can accept, the things we can trust, and so on. And this is a capacity that we can train. And as pointed out by Jon Kabat-Zinn, a good place to start is with ourselves and with our bodies, and reflecting perhaps on all the processes, you know, biological, neurological, cellular processes that goes on all the time in our bodies. The fact that you can, you know, your body takes care of the breath, the heart beats, the blood is circulating, your cells are reproducing. It's all these processes that you can take for granted and you can trust them. And so that can be a good place to start, and then to bring that trust into other domains of our lives. And we can build a trust in the way that life unfolds, essentially. Not that it will unfold in the way that we want it to at all times, or the way we wish it would happen, but that we can have a trust in ourselves and our capacity to cope and to deal with circumstances as they unfold. So what tends to happen when we don't have this trust is that we end up trying to control the circumstances around us. We're trying to plan everything, to make things in a certain way, to arrange them, to pin them down, in order to create a sense of predictability or certainty. This is a type of, you could say, artificial sense of trust. But what ends up happening often is that we start getting caught in this planning mode and this worrying about the future, and in this sense of needing to have the control. So the attitude of trust is more about the recognition that we cannot control everything, but we can start trusting in the way that things unfold naturally and start trusting in our own capacity. And this is what can bring about a deep sense of peace in our lives, this sense that we are fundamentally trustworthy. So in mindfulness practice, we're training this capacity to stay with the present moment. And we talked about this as an opportunity to realize the things that we can already trust, starting with our bodies perhaps. And another way in which we can cultivate trust is by looking at our lives and seeing all the ways in which we're already succeeding, all of the ways in which we're already kind of achieving our goals. You know, day to day, we're actually already doing lots of things and we're succeeding. We're actually able to trust ourselves. But what tends to happen is we overlook these things and we focus on the things in which we're insecure, or the uncertainty of the future, or the ways in which we fail, and so on. So one invitation here is to actually direct our attention to the ways in which we're already able to bring about change or to achieve our goals, etc. So that from there we can start kind of gathering a momentum of trust, and then we can bring that into new domains and situations in our lives.